Hello, this is RPGNate.
And RPGDad. And welcome to this is our podcast for week 2 of Hoard of the Dragon Queen. And man, it was crazy last night. We had 10 tables with an average of 6 players a table. I think we had one table with 4 and one with 5, but we're actually planning for 11 next week. It's just going insane.
Yep.
So I guess let's start with your group because I had a really good laugh sitting next to your table.
So last week we left off outside the sewers. I set up the encounter. It wasn't inside. I didn't realize that they were patrolling a stream, so I set them up outside. They were patrolling out there, but they immediately figured they just had to attack them the previous week. So they did that. They got through the encounter.
But they went more than 4 rounds and one of them ran off.
Yes.
Is that what happened?
Yes. Well, one of them didn't run off, but I needed time since I ran through that a little bit earlier than I should have. So I used the extra encounter to try and buy myself some time.
And that ended up being a mistake.
I didn't realize they were going to play it the way they did. They had AoE magic, and it was all set up perfectly for them to use it. I mean, they have 3 casters at the table. So...
yeah, but no one expects the suicide caster.
Yes. 3 of them were down at a point because nobody was casting. They were all saving their spells for no apparent reason when it was obvious that they were probably going to die if they didn't.
Well, they could use their spells. I mean, my group talked me into letting them take 1 short rest last night, so they all got 1 spell slot back.
But they talked you into it.
Yeah.
They were going to take a short rest last week, but once I set this up, I figured 5 minutes later the encounter shows up, so they didn't have time. And then afterwards, they didn't need a short rest. But we'll get to that. So 3 of them were down at one point.
Technically, they got a long rest.
Yeah. 3 of them were down at one point. And then it gets to the sorcerer that was still up because I had 2 sorcerers. One was down. And later on, he did something stupid. But so this sorcerer is up, and he has Thunderwave, which they changed to where it's a 20-foot burst. I'm not sure if he played it wrong, but no matter what he did, the entire party would have died. The difference would have been he didn't kill one other person. Which actually might have made a difference, I don't know. But, so he uses it. So the 3 people that are down, you only need to deal damage to a downed person that die. So they're dead now. And the 2 other people other than him that are still up go down because they were at such low hit points. And even though they saved, they took half damage. He killed a bunch of the monsters except for like 2 kobolds who were at 1 hit point. But because the kobolds were up next and they hit, he was downed. And then they just coup de grace the rest of them, and they were done.
So you had a TPK because your caster decided to Thunder Blast and hit the whole party.
Yes.
That's awesome. And I was kind of in shock because I'm running my table and I hear that and I'm like, well, I can't yell at you because you didn't TPK on, the party member did.
Yeah. Well, I walked over and I'm like, my party just TPK'd themselves. But they took up new characters. My one person had like 5 characters.
Yeah, he sat there. The character generation.
No, he generated 2, but then he got the book later on, and he generated a bunch more.
So he's ready. He's like that bard in that movie where the bard kept getting killed, and you just threw another bard down.
Except it's different characters. It's not the same bard. The kid that was sitting to my left that you sat at my table, he just picked the same pre-gen, so I just let him use the pre-gen he already had.
That's fine, because it was his first night back.
Yeah. I just let him use the pre-gen that he had as the previous character.
Yeah, it's fine.
The sorcerer had rolled another sorcerer, so he just throws pretty much the same thing down. There's a sorcerer that didn't TPK. The one that was downed, and the other sorcerer killed him. And then the other 2 that were sitting at my table took pre-gens, and 1 took a rogue.
Now, did somebody actually take a cleric, so you finally have a healer?
Yes. The couple sitting there is the one the girl did. So
yeah, because I took your healer from you.
Chad he wasn't a healer.
Oh, he's always a healer, so you were
No, he was
healerless.
a warlock.
Oh man, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Everybody We had like 2 warlocks sitting at the table. It was pretty worthless.
We have so many tables with no healers. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, you've got constant encounters in this, but I guess if you play smart, which my table didn't do something stupid.
No.
Mine did the tunnel.
Yeah.
Last
well,
night.
Let me finish.
Which is
real
where
quick.
you were outside the tunnel, and that's where you ended
Yeah,
up
but we
killing.
did end on the same encounter, so I did catch up using that second encounter.
Well, let me talk about my tunnel encounter, and that'll be the difference, and then we'll talk about the what was the name of that?
Sally Port.
Yeah, the Sally Port. So with my group, they went through the tunnel, and the tunnel sucks because it's only wide enough for one man. Now, I did allow them to kind of work through each other because I guess if they turn sideways, they might be able to make work.
I didn't read through that part, so I had a slightly larger tunnel.
A little too big.
Yeah, I figured it was like where it had the sewage in the middle and then the 2 side things.
Well, my group, the first thing they do is once they're in the tunnel, they've got the 2 rat swarms.
Yes.
Now, the rat swarms are going to occupy the squares where they're attacking.
Yes.
And my couple of casters want to cast AoE spells to attack the swarm that's in the square with the party member. And I'm
so they tried to do what my party did.
they were going to, and they said, "Can I do that?" I said, "If you," and I'm not going to say, "Yeah, go ahead and do it," and let them do it, and then say, "Okay, everybody takes damage."
Well, my caster,
because they don't have spell shaping at first level.
My one person sitting to my right, that's a regular. He's like, that's going to hit everybody, and he's like, "Yeah." And he does it anyway. So he did it knowing that he was probably going to kill a lot of people.
That was a massive suicide attempt. But
Yes.
my casters were asking, and I'm like, if you do an AoE spell, it hits that square, and it's going to hit your player.
Yeah.
Because it's not like there's a giant rat there. It's more like there's 50 rats, and you're trying to hit everything in that square and bombard it. Well, your player is in that square. So it's like, no, you just can't target the rats.
Yeah.
So they had to actually think their way out. One rat swarm never made it in. They were sitting there and attacking from the front because I didn't want to run them through and create opportunity attacks.
Well, they could move into somebody's square and then move to the next square, and as long as they don't leave.
But at the tightness, it would have been where I wanted them under 3 different characters. So I didn't do that. I because I had 2 characters piled up with the rat swarms and then one on the end, and
Yes.
that's the way they were fighting them. Now the one on the end actually went down because the party was smart and said, okay, well that's where we're going to throw our AoE spells.
Yeah.
So they blew those up, and then they had to with weapons, which it's half damage because you're swinging and you're trying to hit a rat swarm. They looked at me. I'm like, just think if you have a bunch of flies flying around and you're trying to hit them. And then one guy's like, well, if you hit them with a swatter, I'm like, yeah, you might get 1 or 2. The rest of them get out of the way, and you barely do any damage to the group. This is a group attack, not an individual attack. And once they realize that, they're like, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny because the casters really, really wanted to start throwing spells in those squares, but they didn't do it.
AoE or single target?
AoE.
They could use single target spells, I think.
Yeah.
Or does it
Again,
not
there
fit
is
with
no
that?
single target in the square.
No, I mean I know it's not that, but like selecting a single enemy, because I guess you can technically count the swarm as one enemy. But
No, you can't, because
It's a collective.
you might say, okay, you're hitting 1 rat out of 50, and you're going to do no damage to the group, because that's a single enemy. People might
I
disagree,
think-
but I can't say, yeah, you can use a single enemy target spell and hit a group. It just doesn't work that way.
I think with
Especially
the
when the
spell-
rats are crawling up, the rats will be crawling up your legs and everything. You're going to hit that character.
Yeah, I think a spell though. If it was the rat swarm sitting there, the spell will do more damage to them because it's not with the restriction of the sword. It's
Well,
I
the
don't know.
spell would do more damage. It's
Yes.
going to do full damage, but it's going to hit everything in the square, and that includes a party member. Because, like I said, the rats aren't just going to be sitting on the floor. They're crawling up your legs, they're biting you on the ankles, they're crawling up your pants and biting your parts, and it's just a horrible thing.
yes,
So you've got to attack that whole swarm to get the half damage.
yeah.
And wherever they are, any type of spell, you throw a fireball in that square, it's going to hit everybody.
Well, yeah. If you throw a fireball, it's going to end up in a TBK.
And that's
like
what they
mine.
had. They had like a fireball to throw, or
Firebolt.
Firebolt. Can I throw a firebolt? Yeah, that's going to hit everybody in the square. Can I throw, even the cantrips. As far as I'm concerned, you throw a big blast of cold into the
Firebolt is a cantrip.
Yeah, but the cantrip's going to hit. The other one, what's the other one everybody uses? The cold one.
Chill touch.
No, there's another one. But
Ray of Frost.
Ray of Frost. That's a ray. It's going to hit everything in that square. So they had to think it out. They worked the combat out.
Yeah.
And nobody died.
Really?
So
well, nobody died to mine either.
But then they get to the end, and it was hilarious because you have one set of thieves' picks with you, and I don't know why Wizards did this. I mean, it's a busted ass lock. They say the lock's messed up, everything, and it's a DC 20 to unlock it.
I think it's because the lock's jammed.
So your sister is one of the two thieves at the table. She rolled a 1, so she broke her thieves' picks.
And nobody else could pick it.
The other one, the other thief, rolled a 20 and picked the lock.
It shouldn't have happened.
Yes.
No, you break the thing off and it's no longer pickable. You have to break it.
It doesn't say that.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. I'm not going to argue over it, but you can pull the pick out. They went ahead and unlocked it. Now I said, all right, what do you do? And the guy who's usually the paladin that rushes into battle, he says, well, I'll just go out. And the rest of the group goes, wait. Just wait a minute. So one person stealth out. And the way I looked at it, because this is a hidden entrance.
Yeah.
So I figured there's probably a big pile of bushes all around this entrance.
Yes.
So I drew it that way, and I said, this is what you're looking at. I drew it the end of the pipe, and here's the bushes. What do you want to do? A couple of them stealthed out, and they looked around, and they saw the party out there that was searching for stuff. And they said, we're going to wait. First, they let them come up, and when what was it? It was some kobolds and cultists and stuff.
Yeah.
They got in front, and they're searching. They didn't find the group. And I said, what are you going to do? Nobody made the mistake of saying, I do this, because I have the rule. You say it, you do it. Somebody started to say something. They said, wait a minute, and they talked it out. And they ended up taking a vote, and they said, we're going to stealth here and wait for them to pass.
Yeah.
And if that's all you do, you've secured the tunnel. They've passed, you didn't have combat. Now they are able to get in and out of that tunnel. That's their exit. Now, every time they come out, I'm going to have to roll to see if there's going to be a party there for them to fight. But they've secured the tunnel, and they didn't take damage. And I didn't have the 4th round of combat hit where the one kobold runs off and brings back a bunch of guys, and it's even worse, and I have a TPK.
Yeah.
But I'll credit the group that they thought it out. They didn't do anything stupid, and they didn't take more damage than they needed to, because their paladin is their only healer, and at this point he's down to 1 healing touch. Unless they can talk me into another long rest after the dragon attack, which they'll need. And I can probably legitimately allow that, because then we're going to be 3-4 encounters in with like 3-4 left. And that'll still give them the full evening to get through.
Yeah.
Up until that last encounter where one of the party members will die.
Yeah, don't say that. They're players listening. No spoilers.
But, I was proud of them because they thought it out. And it wasn't the normal, let's rush in and attack them that you usually see. And I really blame the let's rush and attack them on 4E, because every encounter session was a let's rush and attack them session. And
I think
our players all got used to
DM. That encounters might have been like that, but if they're coming from a home campaign or something from previously, and they're sitting down and playing, I think it really depends on what the DM did.
Yeah, if they had a DM that looked at D&D as combat with miniatures, then they're going to have the rush in and kill them mentality.
Yeah.
And if it's like, most of our DMs at the tables try to encourage the role play and thinking it out.
A majority of our DMs play on Sunday, so.
Yeah, a lot of our DMs have played with us, and they know how we play, and we encourage the role play. So, and even our newer DMs that don't like the role play are encouraging them to think and role play, because this can be a very deadly thing where you're constantly generating new characters throughout the season.
Yep.
Your table found that out the hard way 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing was the Sallyport. So, how did it go for your group there?
Well, first they walk up and they were really dubious after the previous encounter. So they go up, they set up around the door, and the one idiot that constantly tried to use stomology last week, he tries to convince them to come out and rolls a 1. And they tried to convince him to come in after that, but they didn't believe him. So,
well, you have to remember, what was the one creature in there? It was like a giant lizard or something.
Yeah.
That thing's just going to rush out the minute the door opens. It's an animal. It's animal behavior, and that's the way I treated it. It's not a really intelligent creature. It was called an attack, whatever. So
ambush drake.
Yeah, an ambush drake. Once that door was opened, he was coming out full force.
Yeah.
So how did you play it out?
Oh, well, I had them set up. He was right next to the door, so he didn't have much time to wait. And his turn was top of the round, so he just got to do what he was going to do the moment somebody came in. But my one player opens the door. He used 2 slingshots to the face because the kobolds had set up. And then one person rushes in and he receives 2 attacks. Or no, 3, because there was one set up with a slingshot, there was a kobold right behind him, and then there was an ambush drake there who hit him. So now I have one person at 2 hit points and another person
that rushed into a room full of people.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and this was the same guy that tried to convince him to come out. Then the other people come up, and they're actually trying to play smarter. The one sorcerer uses a spell on a kobold, like an actual spell, so that wasn't the best idea. But the cleric, she healed, and everybody actually did all right this time.
Well, this room was ridiculously small. It was 10 by 20.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had, I think it was 6 total enemies in that room. So no matter what, once that door's open, you've got ranged attacks that can be put into that room.
Yeah.
So how did it play out?
Well, I went over and talked to you about it, and
I know I screwed up for you because you ended up building the room out a little more, and I thought it out after that, and I built it out the way it was.
Yeah. So I ended up with a bigger room than everybody else. So I had the ready room there 15 by 30 instead of 10 by 20 because I had it originally set up the 10 by 20 with the outside.
See, the room size doesn't make sense to me because this is supposed to be the sally port, which is like, I guess, a port entrance, right? And the way I read it, it would probably be a set of big double doors sitting there. Why would you have a tiny-ass little room with some double doors that go to the outside?
I think it's a secret exit for sieges to try and get out without others knowing. But apparently it's not so secret since it was raided.
Yeah.
So my party didn't die. They might die as the next encounter. I don't know. We'll see. They have an actual healer.
Well, you had the fight inside, and then there was a second fight outside because after they get into the sally port and they're a couple rounds in, they had to fight another group.
Yeah.
So how did that part go?
No, I'm not to that part yet.
You're not there? All right. So my group, we got to the sally port, and the normal kick the door open guy kicks the door open, but I didn't figure that they had actions readied.
Well, no, mine had actions ready because they knew they were out there.
See, mine didn't know they were out there. My half-orc guy comes up and he kicks the door in, and there's a room full of guys, and he's like, oh crap. My response when they do something like that is roll initiative. And fortunately, I rolled horribly for the kobolds, the cultist, and the ambush drake.
Yes.
I rolled horribly on those. So they were down in order.
I had the ambush drake and the kobolds at the top of the round.
And the two people that rolled very poorly on their initiative were already standing back because they figured the guy going and kicking the door was doing something really stupid, so they didn't want to get hit by it.
Yeah.
So the door bashes open, they roll their initiative, and the guy who smashed the door was at the top of the order. I said, all right, what are you going to do? Are you going to rush in? I said, look at the guys in there. Because they would just gang up. I mean, it would be a gank right there. Yeah. 6 attacks, 1 guy, bam, done. And the party says, wait a minute, let's talk. And he said, why don't we pull back, surround the door, and as they come out one at a time, we can get them. And because it's a tight space in there, the range characters can sit back and shoot who they can see.
Yeah.
And it worked perfectly. The ambush drake, like I said, it's an animal. It's going to react like an animal. It ran out. Everybody had actions ready. It lasted 2 rounds. It didn't die the first round because it did have decent hit points. But it was like bam, bam, bam. They had their actions ready, and they slaughtered him pretty much as he came out.
Yeah.
So they were smart that way. They played smart again.
Yeah. My party, they had initially tried to do that, but because they knew they were out there, they had readied themselves up as well for when they came through the door. And the ambush drake didn't have a chance to rush out.
Well, he had dinner run into him.
Yes.
But my party played it out. They waited. The drake came out, and then they had the one caster in there, who the initiate, and he's trying to cast spells, and he's getting shot, and it ended up, they finally ended up having to come out because there were spells being thrown in, spells being thrown out, and the only way for them to get away from all that was to come out, and it was just, it was a hopeless encounter for the people inside that room. The way it played out, the way that my party played it out, it was a hopeless encounter.
Yeah.
They were dead.
I figured my ambush drake would be ready to eat whatever came through that door.
Yeah.
So he had an action ready to bite the shit out of whatever came through that door.
And then after that, they go inside and they had to use a mend spell.
Did somebody actually have a mend spell?
Yes.
Mine does not.
Mine did. And so I'm like, all right, it's going to take a minute per. You have to do 5, so that's 5 minutes. So you're going to be sitting there mumbling for 5 minutes. Well, like 2 minutes in, a big ambush party comes along.
So then they have to restart.
And the whole group was outside the door. They thought. They didn't just go in. They said, well, let's surround the door and protect just in case. Well, it was a big group that showed up. And the first thing they said is, let's go inside the door and barricade.
Yeah.
So they did. They barricaded up, and they left so they could shoot out. Well, the monsters started coming, and they got really lucky with their range spells. They wiped the guard out pretty quick, and the cultists went down pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then they got really bold and charged out and finished off the kobolds.
Oh, you actually finished all the Sallyport stuff?
Yes. But it was because they thought everything out.
Oh, so your first encounter is going to be the dragon.
Next week they will have that.
Yeah, my party, they don't think much else, so they're probably going to run up onto the wall.
Well, the thing with the dragon, nobody's going to be able to think because there's saving throws that are going to be very difficult, and it's going to create a different type of encounter.
Well, I think...
And we're not going to talk about that until we have that encounter.
Yeah.
But that's an encounter that can go 2 ways. It can be extremely deadly and wipe the party out, or it can just be ridiculous with the party going batshit crazy and running away.
Yes.
But that'll also determine the amount of XP they get because there are 2 different things that can happen in that encounter.
Yes.
But again, that's one that we should probably, but we'll both be running next week probably.
A majority of the people will be.
Well, I say the majority. Hopefully the DMs know that by that time they should be running it. But I'm not telling the tables how to run their tables.
No.
I'm just telling them, we're first level characters. You can only give 300 XP out. You need to ration the XP through this thing so that you're not handing out 0 XP because you've got people at 300 points and they can't get any more.
Yeah.
And that's, I've been in discussions online with DMs, and I don't think they understand that you can't give more than that 300 and you can't be leveling up.
No.
The book is explicit in the instructions.
They're reading it as the home adventure.
Yeah.
They're thinking that they're going through all 8 episodes when they're only going through 3 of those episodes.
Exactly.
I saw that, and I went over to you, and I thought that we were going to be blowing through it way too slow.
No.
See,
because really, they want us, it's like 15 to 18 weeks, they want us ready for the next one that comes out, which will probably be for level 4 through whatever characters. And if people blow away this, I think a lot of the DMs out there have the wrong idea that, it's okay, we can just scale up. But it's going to come a point where your scaling is ridiculous and the adventure won't be designed for what you're scaling to.
No.
And you've got to play it intelligently. You've got people... I know, and intelligence has nothing to do with wizards. That's abundantly clear because they're saying, well, if you play through whatever's in the box set, which the box set can get you up to level 2 or 3 level.
Yes.
And then you can bring that to encounters. Well, you shouldn't be bringing that to encounters.
No.
And you can't bring it to defensive flan because it says it's for first level characters, second level max. If anyone comes with anything higher, you hand them a pre-gen, and that's what they start with. They cannot play a third or fourth level character.
Wait, you can start at second level?
They can come in with a second level if they have that and they have their log sheet and all this stuff. But it makes no sense to me, and I think all of our DMs agree, it makes no sense that you would be in one part of the continent here for encounters and a one-night thing, and that same character with the same XP is someplace else at the same time.
Yes.
So we are going to have them play separate characters. I know there are people who are going to disagree. Well, I really don't care because that's how we're going to run it.
It's thinking logically rather than thinking...
Well, it's using logic and the fact that they demand a first-level character in that other one. It makes no sense, and you can't really run the XP from that into your encounter stuff, and you can't go back and forth.
No.
And it even states that. So you've got to look at what the rules are in the module and what it says, and what you can do. And that's how you have to play it. It's not how you want to play it. It's you. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm a black and white kind of guy. There are no gray areas. It says this is what you do. Somebody brings a third level character, hand them a pre-gen. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
They start with a pre-gen, and if they don't like it, I don't really care.
No.
Because those are the rules. And I'm not going to have some third level goober sitting there messing up the table for everybody else that's running a first level character.
Yes.
You know,
because he'll be doing so much more damage, and
then I've got to bump everything up, and the first level characters die.
Yes.
And that's just somebody coming to the table being an asshole, and I'm not going to have that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we should close it out by now.
But you made me laugh. TPKing your party, well, your player TPKing the party for you, actually was what made me laugh.
I think it was a joint effort there.
Yeah, but I think the player had the biggest hand in it.
Yeah.
But that was absolutely awesome because I've always hated when DMs TPK parties. I always have, especially encounters. But when a player TPKs a party, there's not one person at the table who can complain that much because the DM didn't do it. They can all bitch at the player and say you're a dumbass.
Yeah.
But they can't be mad enough to not come back because the DM sucked. It's a matter of the player just screwed everybody over.
Yeah.
And hopefully the player the next time will think it out before he TPKs the group.
Yeah.
But that was hilarious.
Yeah. But I think that's it for this episode, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know. When we start doing expeditions, I guess we'll probably start a separate podcast for that.
Yeah, maybe. I'm kind of annoyed about expeditions, but that's a separate topic.
You're annoyed because we're going to be playing every Saturday. I mean, here's the deal. Our store wants it there every Saturday and consistent so people know when to come.
Yeah.
You're mad because we have a Sunday game, and we're going to have players who are now that play our Player Sunday game who are going to want to play Wednesday and Saturday, and it's going to come down to having to pick. My problem is we're playing Wednesday and Saturday and wanting to spend time with your mom one day on the weekend.
Yeah.
So this will cause some issues unless your mom decides she's going to start gaming with us.
Yeah.
And I think the odds of that are relatively low.
Yes.
But
thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, favorite, and subscribe. Links in the description to see our blog. And
actually, I don't put that in there anymore because I put it right on the blog.
Yeah.
I probably should put that in there.
Yeah. So,
but anybody
there's
that's
gonna
viewing
be a
this
link.
on YouTube is going there from my blog.
Yeah. But links in the descriptions for the blog. If you enjoy gaming videos such as video game, check out our Red Boy Games channel. Link for that in the description.
I
as well.
still haven't put that in there, and I'm not sure I will.
Yes, you will. I put your links in my descriptions, so...
All right, well, I might reciprocate then. I
Yeah.
can't promise anything.
I have around 300, 400 videos with your fucking links in my videos, so...
Well, why am I not getting views from that?
Well, I don't know, because nobody cares about your videos, but... Sorry. Alright, but thanks for watching once again, listening, and we will see you next time.
Yep, see you next time, and keep playing.
Yep, bye.